My name is Brett Haber from Tennis Channel, and it is my honor to welcome you here and those of you watching around the world to the 2013 enshrinement ceremony of the International Tennis Hall of Fame here in beautiful Newport, Rhode Island. In 1881, this Newport casino hosted the first United States National Tennis Championships, now known, of course, as the U.S. Open. In 1954, through the dedicated work of Candy and Jimmy Van Allen, the USTA sanctioned this beautiful facility as the National Lawn Tennis Hall of Fame. Starting in 1975, individuals from the worldwide tennis community became eligible for enshrinement into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Today, we will honor several individuals with the highest honor that there is in the game of tennis. These very special players and contributors exemplify the greatest traditions of our sport: perseverance, integrity, passion, athleticism, and sportsmanship. Their accomplishments, both on and off the tennis court, are the very reason why we are here to pay tribute to them today with the highest and most prestigious award in the game of tennis. Very shortly, the men and women we honor today will be officially enshrined as Hall of Famers, a title that is only bestowed on the very best and the very few. There are some very special guests that are seated here on the Bill Talbert Center Court who've come here to help us salute our 2013 enshrinement class. First, it is my pleasure to introduce a number of distinguished Hall of Famers from previous induction classes who grace us with their presence here in Newport today, and we will not ask you to hold your applause until the end. You can feel free to applaud after each and every one. First, this son of Philadelphia won Wimbledon in 1953 and the U.S. Championships in 1954 to go with 5 Grand Slam doubles titles, 4 of them with our good friend and former president of the Hall of Fame, Tony Traebert. A U.S. Davis Cup star and team captain, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1971, now 89 years young. Please welcome back Vic Seixas. This New Jersey native won both Wimbledon and the Australian Championships in 1951, despite never taking a tennis lesson in his life. A 3-time winner of the U.S. Indoor Championships and a 1976 inductee into the Hall of Fame, Dick Savitt. This Aussie was a winner of 11 major singles titles, and we use the term major title and not Grand Slam title because, as our friend Bud Collins correctly reminds us, you only win the Grand Slam when you win all 4 major titles in the same year. But of course, this man did that, and he did it twice. His parents named him Rodney George, but he will forever be the Rockhampton Rocket from the class of 1981, the great Rod Laver. In his early playing days, this Spaniard once said, "Grass is just for cows." Well, he changed his stance after winning Wimbledon in 1966. He also won Roland Garros twice in the U.S. Championships in 1965. He was Spain's Davis Cup captain and the winner of the demonstration gold medal at the 1968 Olympics from the class of 1984, Manolo Santana. Maybe he doesn't like grass once again. This man is a hero to everyone in our game, especially those in my line of work. He has been a guardian of our sport for the past half-century as a brilliant journalist and author and broadcaster, the undisputed global historian of the game of tennis, and inductee into the Hall of Fame in 1994. Welcome back to Newport, the always colorful Bud Collins. She is a 5-time Wimbledon doubles champion, twice a singles finalist at the U.S. Open, and perhaps more importantly, a trailblazer in the areas of gender equity and open tennis. Just 5 foot 2 inches tall, but boy, was there all kinds of game in that little frame. Hall of Famer class of 1994, Rosie Casals. This woman made the U.S. Open final in 1978 and was one half of the most lethal doubles team in women's tennis history. 7 Australian Open titles, 4 at Roland Garros, 5 at Wimbledon, and 5 at the U.S. Open, plus an Olympic gold medal, and now one of the most respected broadcasters in our sport. From the class of 2002, Pam Shriver. He was the junior champion at Australia, Roland Garros, and Wimbledon. He had a remarkable pro career throughout the 60s and continued to impact the game after his playing days. Executive director of the ATP, founder of the magnificent tournament on Key Biscayne in Miami, Hall of Fame class of 2005, Butch Buckholz. Billie Jean King called him a national treasure, and she was correct. He is the Dean of Modern Tennis Photography, nominated for a Pulitzer Prize in 1955, capturing the images that have defined our sport for over half a century. Hall of Fame class of 2007, seated in the chairman's box today. Welcome home, Russ Adams. This Aussie won 11 mixed doubles major titles, including the Mixed Grand Slam in 1967. Also won the men's doubles at the Australian Open with Ken Rosewall in '72, the U.S. Open doubles, the John Newcomb. Member of the class of 2010, Owen Davidson. In 1973, she was hired as the first employee of the WTA, and for 35 years, she was the driving force behind the growth of professional women's tennis, and she is still going strong. A member of the class of 2011, the year that she stole the show from some guy named Agassi. Welcome back, Peachy Kellmeyer. A 3-time All-American at Yale, a U.S. Davis Cup player and captain, he helped establish the ATP in the early 70s with the help of his good friend Arthur Ashe, and he revolutionized the way pro athletes conduct business. Now the vice chairman of the Hall of Fame, inducted in 2009, Donald Dell. And finally, this California native won the U.S. Open in 1971, Wimbledon in 1972. He was a 5-time major doubles champion and has served American tennis in multiple leadership capacities: Davis Cup player, Davis Cup captain, Olympic coach, and now the president of the International Tennis Hall of Fame, member of the class of 1987. Won't you please welcome Stan Smith. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize the families and special friends of the class of 2013. They have seen them at their greatest and perhaps their not so greatest. And they have supported and encouraged their tennis dreams and other dreams and celebrated their accomplishments from the very beginning. I'd like now to ask the families and special friends seated on the court of our inductees to please stand so that we may thank and recognize you. Please stand. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the chairman of the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Please welcome to the stage Christopher E. Klauser.
Thank you, Brett. Welcome one and all back to your International Tennis Hall of Fame. I'd like to take a moment and recognize a very important group to the International Tennis Hall of Fame. These individuals are the backbone of our organization, which give so much and largely without being asked, whose dedication to the growth of this beautiful complex knows no end. They provide leadership to the one and only International Tennis Hall of Fame and Museum as it has grown into the marvelous institution it is today. Their dedication and perseverance and preservation and history of the sport of tennis, both past and present, is unparalleled. The Hall of Fame has grown and flourished through the years because of their commitment and guidance in partnership with Rhode Island, the City of Newport, and the Hall of Fame staff. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in recognizing the Executive Committee, the Board of Directors, and Mark Stenning, the Chief Executive Officer, as we celebrate Mark's 33 years with the Hall of Fame. Would you all please stand and be recognized? Thank you. The very highest honor and recognition that can be awarded to a volunteer of the International Tennis Hall of Fame is to be designated a life trustee. There are only 12 individuals who have been awarded this honor. Some of the outstanding people committed to the Hall of Fame are like Bud Collins, Bumpy Frazier, George Gowan, Billie Jean King, Rod Laver, Bill Phillips, Dick Savitt, and Tony Traebert. On behalf of the Executive Committee, I am pleased today to announce the appointment of 3 new life trustees. The museum would not be what it is today without her. She's been a museum chair, museum co-chair, secretary to the board, and officer to the board, and continues in that role today. Please join me in congratulating, and please stand Mrs. Peggy Woolard. An incredibly generous philanthropist who has made us all think and do better, and she's watching today. An incredible person, executive committee and board member, Ms. Rosalind Roz Walter. Hello, Roz, congratulations. Next, and the final life trustee. He has served the Hall of Fame for 30 years. In my opinion, one of the finest chairs of the board of directors. He's also chairs the executive committee and currently chairs the nominating committee. As he stands, please congratulate our final new life trustee, Mr. John Reese. Now for the induction of the Hall of Fame class of 2013. For 59 years, the International Tennis Hall of Fame has preserved the history of our great sport and continues to honor the legacies of the individuals who embody its most important traditions. Today, we will begin with the Master Player category. Mrs. Thelma Coyne Long of Australia. In her honor, would you please rise for the playing of the Australian National Anthem? Thelma Coyne Long, 94 years young, could not join us here today, but I know she's watching from Sydney, Australia. To accept on her behalf, we are very honored to have us with us today, arguably one of the greatest players to ever play the game of tennis. What is not arguable is that he is one of the true gentlepersons and greatest persons both off and on the court. He's the example of true class. He's an outstanding example to those that play today and to all those who may play this game someday. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rod Laver.
Thanks, Chris, for those kind remarks. It is my pleasure to accept this award on behalf of Thelma Colin Long. Her remarkable career lasted more than 20 years, starting in 1935 and finishing in 1958. Her remarkable accomplishments, given the limits that Australian women players faced during that time, are amazing. She won a total of 19 Grand Slam titles. Thelma holds a record of 12 Australian national championships now known as the Australian Open, doubles. In 1952, she completed an Australian triple, winning the singles, doubles, and mixed doubles competition. Thelma won titles in 16 other countries along her tennis career, which is amazing. In 1941, during World War II, she joined the Red Cross as a transport driver, and in 1942, she joined the Australian Women's Army Service and rose to the rank of captain. Thelma was awarded the Australian War Medal in recognition of her service throughout World War II. Yeah, I'm proud to be here to accept this award for Thelma, a very deserving and wonderful lady. Thank you. Here's to you, Thelma.
Rob, stand over to your left. Can you hold that there?
Okay. It is.
So, Rod, when I called Thelma to notify her of her election, she said, well, that's very nice and thank you, but it's about time.
That's exactly true.
So it gives me great pleasure on behalf of the board and the executive committee to present this enshrinement certificate to Rod Laver on behalf of Thelma Coyne Long. Thelma Coyne Long is a member of the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
I might add, I saw Thelma play in 1956 and 1958, and she's just a wonderful person and quite a tennis player back in those years.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Also in the Masters category, we are posthumously inducting 6 extraordinary players who helped shape the history of tennis. Their playing careers, and these great tennis greats range from the late 1880s through the 1940s, with the majority of their careers ending prior to World War II. Today, we honor and recognize Daphne Ackhurst from Australia, James Anderson from Australia, Wilfred Baddeley from Great Britain, Blanche Bingley Hilliard from Great Britain, Hilda Krawinkel Sperling from Denmark, and Charlotte Cooper Sterry from Great Britain. To present Jan Tiriac, we are very honored today to have with us here the Honorable United States Senator, United States Special Ambassador, United States Special Envoy, and a great friend and supporter of the game of tennis. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Senator George J. Mitchell.
It would be difficult to describe adequately any person's life in just a few minutes. Those of you who know Jan Tiriac are aware that given his colorful life, it's impossible, but I'll try. All who enter this hall have made major contributions to tennis. Few have done so for long and in so many ways as has Jan Tiriac. Raised in poverty by a single mother in the mountains of Romania, he is truly a self-made man who achieved great success in tennis and in business. His ferocious determination, his relentless will to win were evident to all who saw him compete at the highest level of international tennis. With Eli Nastasi, he won many doubles titles, including the French and Italian Opens. With Guillermo Vilas, he won many titles in North and South America. He had a great Davis Cup career, winning 40 singles and 30 doubles matches. In one 4-year stretch, he and Nastasi led Romania to the Davis Cup finals 3 times against the United States. And as evidence of his remarkable athletic ability, just a few years before that, he played for the Romanian national hockey team against the United States in the 1964 Olympic Games. He later was a great promoter of Davis Cup in Germany as well as in Romania. After his playing days were over, Jan continued in tennis as a coach, manager, and tournament owner. He managed many great players, including Nastasi, Vilas, Goran Ivanisevic, Boris Becker, and many others. He's owned and run many tournaments in Germany, Austria, and now the Madrid Masters in Spain. He also won many singles titles, but I want to close with a story about one he didn't win. As you heard already, in 1969, Rod Laver, one of the greatest players of all time, won the 4 Grand Slams for the second time, one of the finest achievements in all of tennis history. But it almost didn't happen. At the French Open that year, in a quarterfinal match against Laver, Jan won the first 2 sets. Rod came back to win the last 3 sets, and then went on to win the French Open and complete his second Grand Slam. Many years later, I was at Roland Garros with Jan, and I asked him about that match. At the beginning, he said, the weather was good, the footing firm, and I took the first 2 sets. Then the weather turned bad, the court got slippery, and Laver pulled it out. A month later, I was at Wimbledon, and by complete coincidence, found myself seated next to Rod Laver. Naturally, I couldn't resist asking him if he remembered that match with Jan. Oh yes, he said, I remember it very well. At the beginning, the weather was bad and the court was slippery. And Jan won the first 2 sets. He said, then the weather cleared, the footing got firm, and I won the last 3. Well, most great athletes I've known have amazingly detailed and clear memories of the important events in their careers. And although Rod and Jan recall their match, they did have slightly different recollections of the weather that day. And as all the players here today know, a fraction of an inch here or there, a little rain, a let, a bad call, how different history might have been. Jan, despite that loss, you are a winner. Although the criteria for admission to the Hall of Fame are appropriately limited to tennis, it must be said of Jan Tiriac that his extraordinary success in tennis and in business have enabled him to devote much of his life to helping the people of his country. In ways too many to describe here, often quietly and without publicity, Jan has used his success in life to give many, many Romanians a chance to succeed in their lives. Jan, as you enter the Tennis Hall of Fame today, you earn our congratulations. But you already have earned our admiration, because long before today, you have been a Hall of Famer in the game of life itself. Ladies and gentlemen, Jan Tiriac.
Well, what can I say after such a speech? Now you understand why I'm not a politician. I am just a simple human being, an ex-tennis player, an ex-coach, an ex-promoter, and present member of the International Hall of Fame. I don't know how voted for me and how voted against me to be inducted today in the Hall of Fame. But I thank both parties, so we don't have any dispute. Now, I don't know how Mr. President Smith voted, and I'm not going to ask. Anyhow, I believe, without asking, that he voted for me to come in. Maybe he could make up something from those 3 beatings that he gave me in the 3 finals of the Davis Cup and ruin forever my career as a tennis player. But saying that, Stan, I thank you, not because you beat me, but what you have become in your second life, because I always say, always, a champion, being a tennis player, being an athlete, being a football player or anything, is loved by everybody. But once you finish, always is going to be somebody who's jumping higher, who's running faster, or he hits a ball harder. And if that happens, and after you stop, you are still going to be respected, that's exactly what brings you to be successful on the second life. I want to thank my family that for such a long time support me and is present here. Yonion, my son, Karim, Joanna, my daughter, their mother, Sophie, my sister that all my life was next to me. I want to thank my friends that they are all in front of me. I'm not going to number them because there are too many. And I don't want to keep more time because McEnroe set up a 5 minutes time for these speeches after his 2 hours and a half that he had. George, I thank you very much. I'm really not only pleased but honored for you presenting me for this introduction. International Hall of Fame, very high name, very well regarded and deserved. So keep it. Yon Tiriac member of Hall of Fame, I don't think I deserve it, but I'm going to keep it. So saying that, I just want to come 1 second back to the match against His Royal Highness Rod Laver. That year was the first Open ever. All these professionals coming that they are from other planet landed in Roland Garros, and the first Open amateurs with professionals and so on. Who are the professionals? Let's see them. Of course, you knew each other from before. So, what happened? There are 7 professionals and 1 pure amateur that I get less money, not because I was any different than them, in a quarterfinal. So I have to play Laver. And Rodney say, you know something? I believe that this year I'm going to make the Grand Slam again. Jesus Christ, now you play with the guy that already made the Grand Slam and you're still on the court, what you have to do. But then I didn't know how to play tennis. I never knew, I never learned. But I have 2 very good pair of legs. And I could run from here to New York and back. So I ran against Mr. Laver from A to Z, and I had 2 sets to love. And then I was thinking, I said, listen, this guy maybe makes the Grand Slam again. Would be fair for me to beat him. I don't say that I give him the match, but I say that he didn't really beat me. So it's something between the 2 of us. We're still great friends. I respect it. For a very, very long time in my book, he was the best player ever. And I don't want to compare. It's impossible to compare the eras. I am very proud, and I thank you. I was elected for the first time with my peers that put me here, the guys that I share a piece of bread, sometime, not all the time, even a little bit of butter. I get rich the first time when I won the US Open, or the US Indoor I won it with Nastasi, the French Open, and I get $100 as winning the title. I believe at that day, that year, you get $2,000 at Wimbledon, Rodney. And Roosevelt get I remember that. And you know what I remember? Because Roosevelt won Roland Garros. No. If you won the Grand Slam, maybe you won it, no? Even the French one. And they say, this is a check today. We hope that next year it's bigger. And it was a little bit bigger the next year and the year after. Only in Madrid, we have in excess of $10 million prize money, where this game has gone. But the market can afford it. And if I look over my shoulder, I promise you, I don't regret one day of my life being a tennis player, a coach, a manager, a promoter, the way it was. And I'm not jealous. Let them make the tens of millions a year, but they're never going to have the times that we had in our era of tennis players. Thank you.
Stan, will you join me and please present Jan with his Hall of Famer blazer, please. Here, Stan. Give that to me.
I believe they made it for myself and Nastasi together.
Jan, on behalf of the Board and Executive Committee, we're happy to present this certificate, which signifies your admission into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Congratulations. And now to honor two of our contributor inductees, Cliff Drysdale and Charlie Passarelle, I ask you to please stand for the national anthem of the United States of America. Please be seated. Eric Clifford Drysdale. I spoke with Cliff about his election in Melbourne, Australia this past January, and I asked who would be his presenter. With no hesitation and that very proud look of a father, he immediately said, "My son, Greg." I'm pleased to welcome to the podium that great son, Greg Drysdale.
Thanks, everybody. That's very nice. My father, in my humble opinion, is the best man I've ever met in all the ways that matter. He taught me everything that I know that's worth knowing. He's a great dad. I'm very lucky, but I have had to share him. He's given his whole life to tennis, unreservedly, playing, promoting, organizing, and eventually broadcasting. 34 years he's been on TV. 34 years? Johnny Carson wasn't on TV for 34 years. That's a very long time. And still going, by the way. Where were you last week, Cliffy? 4th of July, we could have been on the golf course, but no, had to go to England again. I was so happy when I heard that my father was being inducted into the International Hall of Fame, because I think that's the most magnificent way for all the great people in tennis that means so much to him. I think that's a way for them to express appreciation and affection for my dad for a lifetime spent on these courts. So thank you all. Thank you all very much. Because personally, there's no possible way that I could ever thank my father for all that he means to me. but I can try. Thanks, Dad, for all that you've done and all that you are. I love you. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Cliff Drysdale.
I just knew that I was not going to bawl like a baby. And I'm going to try my damnedest not to. Greg, I hope that one day you will realize just how strong a human being and how strong a personality you are. To my wife, Deanna, she thinks this is all about history, and it's not. It's about what's been past and what is going to come in the future. Just one quick thought for you, Deanna, and that is that these last years that we have been together, I've seen the world in a different light. I now see, it's not just from the courts to the hotel anymore. It's a much happier place than I ever thought it was before I met you, and I thank you for that. I want to bring you to this spot that I'm standing right now because I will never forget the time that Jimmy Van Allen, who was responsible for the tiebreak and was responsible, he tried so many times to change the scoring system in tennis and succeeded, obviously. But I had figured out a way to subvert his system, and so I was playing against some chump here on this court, and I figured out that if I lost a couple of points, maybe even a game, that somehow I would be able to get to the semifinals automatically. And poor Jimmy came onto this court, and he was livid. I mean, his face, I thought he was going to explode. The man that I was playing against was Butch Buckholz. He's sitting here, up here on this stadium setup here, and I want to apologize to Jimmy Van Allen, and I want to apologize to you for that moment, Butchie. But I'll tell you the truth, you to me are like a bad rash. I can't get rid of you. I mean, it started with the Handsome Eight, then it goes to World Team Tennis, then you run the ATP, and then, I don't know, then you start the Lipton became Sony down in Miami, and then just when I thought I was rid of you, you give me a call and say, would you come down here and start, managing this tennis club down here at the Ritz? And so I end up in the same city with you, and I have to continue to deal with you. That was my opportunity, Butch, to meet Don Henderson, and between us, he's here as well. Donnie is here somewhere, right there in the front row. Wife Katie, we've started this fine little business that continues to thrive, and I wanted you to know how much I appreciate you as a good friend. There's another person here, a couple of others that I want to recognize. Gavin Forbes is here as well. Put up your hand, Gavin. His dad was my Davis Cup partner for South Africa back there in the 60s. He wrote a beautiful book, and if anybody in this stadium has not read it, they need to get a copy of it. It's called A Handful of Summers. It was about those summers in the 60s when times, as you said, Eon, we're different, and we're maybe more fun. Depends on how you look at it, but they were certainly different. This is something that you should read. Anyway, what you don't know, you know that he wrote the book, Gavin. What you don't know is that he said to me at a certain time, Cliff, you're that good that you're going to be able to play with the likes of Rod Laver. And I looked at him and thought he was crazy, but it turned out that way, Rocket. We played a few times against each other. I didn't lose every one of them, just you may or may not recall. And there have been so many stories spoken about and written about you that I'm not going to go into them, but I will tell you this, that in Rome, the second week I was ever in Europe, you were playing a match, and suddenly the entire locker room, men's locker room, was devoid of people, and the reason for that was because they were all there to go and watch you play. You actually had a topspin backhand, which was basically unknown at that time. Sorry about the rain, folks. Please feel free to put your umbrellas up. One of those who would leave the locker room always to go and watch the Rocket play was Charlie Passarelle. And I just want to say about Charlie that he is a dreamer. He always was a dreamer. And when I used to listen to him in those days, Charlie, when we talked about the ATP and forming the ATP, You came up with some cockamamie ideas in those days. I used to think you were nuts. The fact is, though, that those ideas have translated into your great tournament that you created at Indian Wells, #1, and the Super 9, what was the Super 9, and then became the Masters 1000 now. Those were your ideas. Don't let anybody in this room forget it. I wish Lamar Hunt was here, Al Hill Jr., because they gave me the opportunity to bring my family over to the United States. And to be honest with you, to be very honest with you, I wanted to be in America more than anything. From the time that I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I wanted to be in this country. They helped that process, which meant that I could bring my young kids, one of whom is sitting here now, and his sister, Kirsty, who is another light of my life, not able to be here, unfortunately, but she is in Texas, and she's watching us, and I want her to know how much I appreciate and love her. The other thing that they did for me at WCT was they introduced me to this company called Entertainment and Sports Programming Network, now better known as ESPN. And my career with ESPN lasted a lot longer than my playing days, and I just want to recognize a couple of guys. Jeff Mason is here. He's been the longest guy that I've known. He's made the trip down here. Jed Drake, who's the type A personality beyond belief, but we've learned so much, at least I have anyway, from Jed. We've got Jamie Reynolds, who tries to keep us announcers on an even keel, which is very difficult because we're all basically egomaniacs. We've got Caroline Davis, who really runs the whole show. Everybody thinks that it's the suits that run it. It's Jason who does, in fact. And I should say it's Caroline. In fact, Jason is the one who buys all the properties. Jason Bernstein, he's also here. Thank you so much, guys, for the honor and privilege of joining me for this really special occasion. The announcing family that we have are also here. Patrick McEnroe's taken the trip with his family up here. Chris McHenry is here. Chris Fowler is here as well. It means a lot to me that you guys have shown up here. It means a heck of a lot. Pam Shriver is like my sister, so I don't even need to thank her because we came to that conclusion a few years ago. I want to recognize just one other person before I stop and maybe try to help everybody get out of the rain, and that is Bobby Feller. Bobby Feller has been a producer for tennis for as long as I can remember. We've done a lot of things together over the years, Bobby. He claims that he knows what I'm going to say before I say it. And I will tell you, Bobby, and you're sitting in this group here in front of us as well, I know. I will tell you that I know what you are going to think before you think it, sir. So it's not just a one-sided street here. Finally, I want to recognize Mr. Chris Klauser. He has had to sit here for what I hope was not more than 5 minutes because that was my admission, that's as long as I had. If he has listened for 5 minutes, that's 4 minutes and 30 seconds longer than he's ever had to listen to me before because he has got the attention span of a mosquito. I really appreciate his help over the years and his deep and abiding friendship. It is a privilege and an honor to be a member of the International Tennis Hall of Fame, and from the bottom of my heart, I thank you.
Cliff, on behalf of the Board of Directors and Executive Committee, it is my honor to present this certificate to you certifying your induction into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer Cliff Drysdale. Welcome back to Newport. We're here experiencing a little drizzle, and I'm here with the Grand Slam champion umbrella holder, Rod Laver. Life can't get better than this. Charles Emmanuel Passerell Jr., one of the most respected players, leaders, and spokesmen for the game of tennis. To present Charlie, please welcome the founder and chairperson of the Arthur Ashe Learning Center. I am pleased to welcome Jeannie Matusumi Ashe.
Thank you, everyone. What a joy it is for me to return to the International Tennis Hall of Fame to help induct the person formerly named Charles Passerell Jr., but who is known and loved by so many of us as Charlie. And what an honor, because Charlie has brought his passion, integrity, and determination to our sport for nearly 5 decades. Here's a partial litany. Ranked #1 in tennis in the United States in 1967, ranked in the top 10 11 times, 5 years playing for the USA in Davis Cup competition and winning the championship in 1968, 18 singles titles and numerous doubles titles, a 5-hour singles match against Pancho Gonzalez at Wimbledon, a record for the longest match at Wimbledon that held for 41 years until just this summer. A co-founder and officer of the original ATP, 1971 to 1978. He's always, always there to help in any effort that will lift the game to greater heights. Under his leadership as tournament director of what is now known as the BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells, California, the tournament has grown into the largest 2-week combined ATP and WTA tennis tournament in the world after the Grand Slams. But for those of us who know Charlie, know that the commitment he takes most seriously is his commitment of service to the human family, a commitment that he makes with love and that he backs up with follow-through and reliability. When Charlie Passarelle gives you his word is as good as gold. In 1969, along with Arthur Ashe and Sheridan Snyder, Charlie co-founded the National Junior Tennis League to provide inner-city underprivileged kids the opportunity to be exposed to and benefit from tennis. Thanks to their efforts, thousands of kids have opted for staying off the streets and instead playing on tennis courts and staying in school. The NJTL continues to be the largest grassroots tennis program in the United States, with over 950 chapters reaching 275,000 kids each year. Kids who have gone on to become doctors, lawyers, teachers, engineers, accountants, business executives, tennis teaching professionals, and coaches, including James Blake and Rodney Harmon. Some of you may know that Arthur Ashe and Charlie were not only roommates and teammates at UCLA, they were one another's best friend. Without question, if Arthur were alive today, he would be introducing Charlie. I'll stand in his place and try not to cry because I know Arthur would have been welling up with tears of joy for his dear, dear friend. And I thank him for vindicating that line because I'm sure that rain was definitely divine intervention from Arthur. But they were tears of joy, Charlie, tears of joy. Thank you, Charlie, for including me in this wonderful celebration. You are not only a great example of the athletic spirit, but also the quintessence of everlasting love, of family and friendship. It gives me great pleasure to introduce him with words that are now most fitting. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer, Charles Passerell Jr.
Jeannie, excuse me, Jeannie, thank you for those kind words. It is very special and meaningful to me that you are the one presenting me into the Hall of Fame today. Also, we are also proud of you, of all the outstanding work that you're doing to preserve and promote Arthur's legacy through the Arthur Ashe Learning Center. You're a wonderful person, Jeannie, and we love you. Wow, it's Standing here today on this court, I realize what a fortunate individual I am, and that I have been blessed with a wonderful life, a loving family, and great friends. I and all of us who have had the privilege to stand on this court to receive an induction into the International Tennis Hall of Fame are fully cognizant that this honor could not have been achieved without the help, support, and encouragement of others. So it is time for me to acknowledge and express my gratitude to those that helped me get here today. I must begin with my family, and first and foremost, my mother and father, Charlie Sr. and Dora. They're here today, ages 95 and 92 respectively. Mother, father, to both of you, thank you for providing me and my brother Stanley with a loving home, a good education, and for introducing us to tennis at an early age. Actually, both of my parents were accomplished players in their own right. My father won the championships of Puerto Rico 8 times, and my mother won it once. So I grew up in a tennis-playing family, and in 1965, the USTA, then the USLTA, named our family Tennis Family of the Year, an award we cherish greatly because it involved the whole family. I am also very fortunate to have met and married my sweetheart and wife of 42 years, Shireen. Together we have raised 2 wonderful children, Farah and Charles. They're also sitting with my parents over there. Shireen, Farah, and Charles, thank you for all the love and joy you have brought into my life. I also would like to recognize other members of my family that are here today. My younger brother, Stanley, and his lovely wife, Georgine. My brother and sister-in-law, Frank and Marcy Craighill, and their family, Frank, Hunter, Amara, and Jared. And my brother-in-law, Dr. George Fareed, and his 2 daughters, Lara and Martha. To all of you, thank you for being here today, and I love you all. I must also express my appreciation to my tennis teacher and coach, Bobby Van Horn, who started teaching me at the age of 8. And whatever success I might have achieved as a player, I owe mostly to him and the sound fundamentals he taught me. So Welby, if you're watching, thank you for being my mentor and teacher. To all of my friends from the ATP that I've had the privilege of serving with on the board for all those years, Mark Miles, Mark Young, Larry Scott, Etienne de Villiers, and our recently deceased friend, Brad Druitt, and many more, I am proud of all the work we did to make this game just a little bit better. Mark, I know you're here today, and thank you for being here and your support. To my Indian Wells tennis tournament family that I've had the privilege to work with for over 30 years, thank you for your devotion and your hard work to make that event the great spectacle that it is today. I am sure that with your continued work and direction, and with Mr. Larry Ellison's support, it will grow beyond anyone's expectations. Dee Dee, Peggy, Tom, it means a lot to me that you're here today. Thank you for being here. To all of my other friends that have traveled from California and elsewhere, thank you for your support. This induction into the International Tennis Hall of Fame is indeed for me the ultimate honor and recognition I can receive in the sport. Just imagine to be included in this hall among so many legends and outstanding individuals such as Arthur Ashe, Billie Jean King, Jack Kramer, Pancho Gonzalez, Tony Traebert, Chris Evert, Stan Smith, Butch Buckholz, all the great Aussies, Laver, Emerson, Newcomb, Roach, Stone, Stolley, Rosewell, Davidson, and of course my Davis Cup captain and my great friend Donald Dale. It really is truly a great honor and a humbling experience. These are individuals that I have admired for their accomplishments and contributions, and with whom I've had the good fortune of sharing many wonderful experiences on and off the court. They all have had, without a doubt, a positive impact on my life, and I am blessed to have them as my friends. To the inductees of the class of 2013, Mrs. Coyne Long, Martina, and my two buddies and contemporaries, Cliff and Jan, congratulations. It is an honor to be in your company. And Cliff and Jan, it really is a little bit extra special for me to have been inducted in the Hall of Fame at the same time as the two of you. Finally, to Chairman Chris Klauser, President Stan Smith, CEO Mark Stanning, and the board of the International Tennis Hall of Fame, I would like to express my gratitude for this recognition and great honor that has been bestowed upon me today. You have made me and my family very proud. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Charlie, on behalf of the board and the executive committee, it is my honor to present you your certificate, which signifies your induction into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Thank you. Turn around and look at those people. Ladies and gentlemen, now for the final induction into our recent player category, our final inductee for 2013. In honor of Martina Hingis, would you please rise for the national anthem of Switzerland? Please be seated. To present Martina, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce and bring to the podium a great leader, the president and co-founder of Octagon, and a dear friend of Martina and supporter throughout her incredible career. Please welcome Mr. Phil DiPicciotto.
Martina, welcome to Newport. You have accomplished so much since we first met when you were an 11-year-old surrounded by stuffed animals. On your journey to get here, you won 81 tournament titles, including 15 Grand Slam titles. You spent 209 weeks as the world's #1 ranked singles player, and you attained the rare status of holding the #1 ranking in both singles and doubles at the same time. We loved watching you play. You were always so natural and so authentic. You treated us to a modern yet classical and timeless style of tennis, with a blend of superb technique and artistry reflective of your Swiss and Czechoslovakian heritage. Your extraordinary court sense enabled you to anticipate your opponent's best shots and strategies. You creatively employed your feet, your hands, your head, and your heart. Throughout, your coach and mother, Melanie, was a constant source of knowledge and support. And in turn, you used what you learned to inspire others. Players lined up for a chance to play doubles with you, and you won titles with 15 different partners. You always went above and beyond in fulfilling your responsibilities toward tournament directors, WTA Tour officials, business partners, and those less fortunate than you. Your openness and honesty with the media made their jobs easier. Your integrity and fairness and consistency made the ITF better. And no doubt, in the years ahead, you will find many new ways to help the next generations of players and administrators and fans. Martina, on this special day, the stage of the Hall of Fame is most deservedly yours.
Thank you, Phil. Well, when I was 11 years old, that was also thanks to Phil. I took my first private jet trip from Switzerland to Prague and back. So thank you, Phil. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to tell you how deeply I'm honored and of course also moved to stand here in front of you today in this wonderful place with so much history. I can only find the words to express the proud feelings that I have being now a member of such an elite group our sport has elected to represent millions and millions of people worldwide playing tennis. I could repeat the words been said so many times before here. Our sport has given me everything in my life, and it would be the truth. But maybe I can add something special, something to give you a little bit more insight about who I am and what this all means to me. I was born behind the Iron Curtain, and my mother wanted to tear the curtain apart for me. That is the reason I played tennis as a little girl. In 1980, my mother had not many choices for giving me a better life and a chance for freedom to see the world. She chose the game of tennis as a way out of the world and the prison we lived in. So thank you, Mom. She also gave me the name Martina after Martina Navratilova, who was a great legend and a symbol of freedom in our country back in Czechoslovakia. In 89, as the wall came down in 89, also thanks to this great land of yours, I was already on the way to where life would get me. So thank you, Mom, again. You gave me life, you gave me love, you gave me tennis. You gave me everything you could give me. And thank you, tennis. You gave me the world. And now, I'm just out of words, because there are no words to explain what I feel that you chose to give me a place here for eternity. When I was a little girl, I didn't know there is a Hall of Fame. When I was at the top of my game, I did not know there was far more than sports. As I stand here now in front of you, I'm not sure if I deserve all this. So what can I say more? Thank you all, and I love you all. Thank you. Well, couple more words to the people that are here with me today. My mother, Melanie Molitor, and also a longtime family for me, who's the Unix family, Mr. Ben Yoneyama and his wife. We had a relationship for 20 years. Thank you for coming today. June, who I've known since I was a little girl as well. Thank you for coming. And Leopoldo Gutierrez, who is now who is the owner of the Tonic tennis line that we make together. And he also has a great designer who designed this dress. So whoever loves Tonic tennis, please, you're welcome to shop it on Tennis Warehouse. So thank you, and enjoy this afternoon.
Martina, on behalf of the Board of Directors and the Executive Committee, it is my distinct honor to present you with your certificate, which signifies your induction into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, before we conclude our ceremony, we're going to let our inductees, if Cliff, Charlie, Rocket on behalf of Thelma Coyne Long, Martina, and Jan, would you please take your victory lap around the court so our guests here today can congratulate you on this honor. If the other Hall of Famers would follow, we would appreciate it also for a victory lap. We'll be right back.